Morning, everybody. Eric Chaconis here for the PT on Ice Daily Show. I am one of our extremity management faculty along with Lindsay Huey and Mark Gallant. And today is Clinical Tuesday. So I wanted to share a little clinical pearl with you today related to shoulder pain. I think that, when we teach our extremity management course, we are really not taking a very strong pathoanatomical approach. We're using classification systems, we're using shoulder symptom modification procedures, but at the same time, we are understanding and respecting and utilizing the pathoanatomical approach when it's appropriate. One of those places where it's appropriate is when we categorize somebody in that shoulder sort of subacromial pain category. If we believe long head of the biceps is involved, that is a very important exercise prescription approach that we're going to take. So we're going to load long head of the biceps to that individual's tolerance based on the stage of healing that they're in, their level of irritability, right? All those factors are going to influence how we load the biceps. So I want to show you one little trick today, one little strategy when we're going to load the biceps in the prone position. So first of all, we love prone for a lot of different reasons for the shoulder. One is it hangs naturally at about 90 degrees. So if I have somebody that's guarding, right, they do have high levels of irritability and they're not really letting me take that shoulder and pick it up and bring it to full range of elevation in supine, I flip them over to prone. The shoulder naturally hangs at a level of 90 degrees. It's pretty comfortable for the patient. They're in control. They are able to, they don't really need to guard because the shoulder's just hanging there. They feel pretty good in that position. So it's a nice place to start. I can do a lot of shoulder mobs in this position. So, I'll start there and just oscillate the joint, right? I can kind of provide a distraction type of movement to the joint in that position where I'm distracting. And then what I'm going to end up doing is loading the biceps in this position. So commonly, right, we'll load the rotator cuff in this position. We'll do a lot of periscapular work. And what I want to show you today is the importance of biceps loading. And this is typically where I start. And the reason for that is when you're standing or you're seated, you're in an upright position. You think about the position of the long head of the biceps, the way that it wraps up over the humeral head into the glenoid and blends with the labrum, right? So it's got this wrapping effect where it comes up over the top, wraps up over the top. And when we see tendinopathies and even partial tearing of the long head of the biceps, it's usually at that fulcrum, right, where it wraps around in the intertubercular groove, right on the top of the head of the humerus. When you put them in prone like this and the shoulder's hanging down, now it's totally relaxed and totally slack. So that biceps is not in a tight position anymore. People tend to tolerate this really well because it's not the tensile, it's not in that stretched position, right? So they tolerate it a little better. The other thing it does is it gets me in a more of an elevated position for the shoulder. So I really want to load the biceps in some of these functional overhead type of positions. And this is a good place to start like that. So naturally, we'll have Cindy just grab the weight right there. Naturally just curling that, right? And we're going to start with actually a neutral forearm. So the most benign, go ahead, like a hammer curl in that position. The most benign, most gentle, most usually well-tolerated position is going to be a neutral forearm with a neutral shoulder at 90, right? So this is all going to be symptom modification the whole time, right? I'm constantly monitoring. How does that feel? I want to load the biceps in a pain-free way to her tolerance and just get her on this, get her started on this program. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move it into more of a supinated position. So we're going to move it into a supinated position, and then from there, go ahead and curl. Coco, you're getting completely in the way. All right. So you're good. You're there. All right. A more aggressive position or a progression is going to be we're going to start looking at rotations of the shoulder. Now, I do think it's important to do this in internal rotation every now and then. I do want to see how that feels for the individual. So I might have you just curl it while the shoulder's internally rotating a little bit. You're just going to pick it up and touch the weight to the table. Yep, like that. Good. Touching the weight to the table. But what I would like to do and how I'm going to progress this is going to be out in a further degrees of external rotation. So go ahead and external rotate the shoulder. Yep, and go ahead and curl it up. As far as you can go into shoulder external rotation. So you're here, you're here. Good. Yeah. So from that angle, you probably can't see it as good, but she's moving into full external rotation of the shoulder while curling it in that position. And then obviously there's a whole host of other things you're going to do. I think that when you load long head of the biceps, you take them through a process of seeing what feels okay, what doesn't, what feels good, what doesn't. Preacher curls where the shoulder is supported, where the head of where the humerus is supported and it's out in front. I even think sometimes it's interesting. You would think the most provocative position, you would think the most challenging position would be when you are supine, right? Like think about being on an incline bench with that shoulder falling into extension and then curling in that position. You would think that would be the most challenging, the most provocative. Sometimes I try that on people when we have a known long head of biceps pathology. Try that, and that actually feels good, and they like it. So you never know which one's going to be well tolerated versus another. And I do think for each individual, it's worth kind of going down that road and trying out those different positions and movements. But the long head of biceps responds really good to load. Loaded carries, right? Other traditional type biceps curl work, anything where you can kind of load that tendon just like you would any other tendon. All right, hope that helps. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.